Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki. Please repeat. My Lord, you are the provider of the Pitrilokas, as well as all the demigods. You are the predominating deity of the moon, and the master of all three Vedas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, because you are the original source of satisfaction for all living entities. Purport. When the living entity is born with this material world, that doesn't sound right. Okay, I think it should be within. Anyway, when the living entity is born with this material world, especially as a human being, he has several obligations unto the demigods and unto the saintly persons and unto living entities in general, as enjoined in the Shastras, Devashi Bhutaptra Ninam Pitrinam. Thus one has an obligation to one's forefathers, the previous hierarchy. Lord Shiva prays to Lord Aniruddha to give him strength so he can become free from all obligation to the Pitas, demigods, general living entities, and saintly persons, and completely engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord. As stated, Devashi Bhutaptra Ninam Pitrinam Nakinkaro Nayam Rini Charajan Savatmanaya Sharanam Sharanyam Gato Mukundam Pariritya Kartam. Srimad Bhagavatam 11th Canto 5th Chapter Text 41. Translation. One becomes free from all obligations to the demigods, saintly persons, Pitas, ancient forefathers, etc., if one is completely engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. Lord Shiva therefore prays to Lord Aniruddha to give him strength so that he can be free from such obligations and entirely engage in the Lord's service. Soma, or the predominating deity of the moon, is responsible for the living entity's ability to relish the taste of food through the tongue. Lord Shiva prays to Lord Aniruddha to give him strength so that he will not taste anything but the prasad of the Lord. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has sung a verse indicating that the tongue is the most formidable enemy among all the senses. The tongue can be controlled only by eating prasad offered to the deity. Lord Shiva's prayer to Lord Aniruddha is meant for this purpose. Triptidaya. He prays to Lord Aniruddha to help him be satisfied by eating only prasad offered to the Lord. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurul Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum namagaite kirim yat kripa tamam vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. Karantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. We are now really entering deeply into the prayers of Lord Shiva. Consider that Lord Shiva is very prominent Vaishnava. Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu. He is considered foremost of all the Vaishnavas. So his depth of devotion cannot be properly estimated by conditioned souls. And so his heart, his consciousness is being presented before us so that we can be benefited from that depth of realization. The Vaishnava is always situated in a mood of humble service, always feeling oneself very low, very unqualified. And with that type of heart, can very easily see the greatness of Krishna. In consciousness which is inflated with false pride and ego, it is very difficult to recognize anyone, what to speak of the Supreme Lord. Nobody is qualified, nobody has any distinct advantage over me. I'm the best, I'm the greatest, I'm the richest. I know. Therefore, within material consciousness, whatever may be seen as glorification of others is generally a lot of flattery. It's a means to an end. Just simply to get something out of whoever. If we stroke someone's ego, then they tend to feel, oh, you recognize me. We engage this as a tool of service on book distribution. You have such a spiritual aura. We're giving these books to all the intelligent people. Or are you two brother or sister, or are you a power couple? Oh yes, we are a power couple. Someone who recognizes my inflated sense of self, then I have some time to hear some more flattery from them. But from the devotee's side, it is not a matter of coming before the Lord simply to flatter him, but it is to acknowledge, to magnify, or to broadcast the glory which is naturally the Lord's position. So the Lord is being recognized here as the provider of the Pitrilokas as well as the demigods. Bhagavatam has 10 topics it is discussed. Atra saga visagascha stanam poshanam uttaya. So this stanam means that the Lord has created the different places of dwelling for all living beings, the different planetary systems. So the Bhagavatam discusses who lives in this universe, what type of beings are there. Poshanam means the provisions that are given for the living beings, the protection that is afforded the living beings. So if you have to protect somebody, as Maslow is famous for the hierarchy of needs. Who knows them? Yes, Bill. Oh, just not that you say them, but you know of them, yeah? Yes, food, clothing, and shelter are like the basics of what is considered the needs, basic needs of everyone. So the Lord also, in protecting the living beings, provides them that which they need. Om Punamada Punamidam Punat Udachate Punasya Punamadaya Punamevavashishyate. In that Ishopanishad it is said that this material world is complete. It has been providing everything. There's nothing which is not there, which is needed by the living beings. Oxygen, we need it, therefore it's there. Carbon dioxide goes out, the plants need it, therefore it's given. Fire in the belly, we need it because we have to digest food. There's light of the sun, so that we can see. The nose is there, and naturally there's fragrance in the environment. So all that we need has been provided. Have you ever wondered about different foods? Sometimes you eat something and you just think, who discovered that this particular fruit or vegetable can be eaten? You know what I mean? It's trial and error. There's some vegetable. Which country is it? I'm trying to remember this devotee. Anyway, one of the countries. There's a particular vegetable that if you eat while it's still green, will kill you. And it is only eaten once it is ripe and it fell off. And I think it's Argentina. Krishna. Forgive me if it's not. So we were served this particular prasadam. And once it's cooked, it looks like paneer that is mashed, you know. And so we were all curious, okay, what is this, you know, what's this all about? We've never eaten this. I was at Mahavishnu Swami. So the devotee said, oh, this is, they said the name. It's there in my country. But if you eat this, when it's still green, it can kill you. And the look on the face of the devotees was just like, what? Like, how can you serve us this? Was it really past the poisonous stage? So, like, who then discovered this? You know, they ate the green one and someone died, and then they were just, okay, we want to eat this, maybe we should wait until... It's always fascinated my mind. But we can understand, though, that because time is cyclic, there's nothing new under the sun. Nothing's going on that's not taken place in the past. And especially within the Vedic context, knowledge is received from the higher beings. So it is not always empirical, that it's trial and error, you're trying to figure it out. But because the universe is populated first with the most intelligent person, Brahma. His whole form is made of intelligence. And when he completes his austerity, Brahma Samhita says, then he was acquainted with the whole expanse of Vedic knowledge. Here the Lord is glorified also as the master of all three Vedas. So he's the knower of everything. And he passes that knowledge on. So in this way, the point being brought out is that he provides for all. And here specifically, the Pitri Lokas and the demigods are being singled out by Lord Shiva. You could say first, to appreciate the provision, one appreciates the provision that is given to his own community. So Lord Shiva, being one of the demigods, is appreciating the Lord's arrangements made for their livelihood and living. Pataye, unto the master of what? Of all yagya, sacrifice. Krishna says, Bhoktaram yagya tapasam, savaloka maheshwaram. He is the master, the controller of all the lokas, and is the beneficiary, the enjoyer of all sacrifices and austerities. In fact, he should be. In the conditioned state of life, where was God when I was waking up early, taking all these classes? Now that I'm a rich man, you come here and tell me that God provided this, says the self-made man. Where was God? I took all the sacrifices. But Purport says this is due to poor fund of knowledge. You don't know, rascal, that that brain that you've been engaging, those legs, those eyes, all the facility that you have used to so-called amass your good fortune has been provided to you by the Supreme Lord. So the attitude of gratitude is very important for the devotee especially. Also in the world, for any good flow of relationships. No one is more annoying than an ingrate, someone who feels entitled. They always think they deserve more. They say in South Africa, it's probably everywhere. Yeah. Well, you give someone a hand and they want to take the whole arm. It reminds me, not that she was ungrateful, poor thing, but my niece, she was practically drowning, you know. We used to swim in the river where I grew up. So I see that this kid is like in trouble, you know, she's drowning. So I jump in to pull her out. So I grab her and I kind of put her on my shoulders. And immediately when I put her on my shoulders, she just tensed up, crossed her legs around my neck, and started pushing me down from the shoulders. So now I am in trouble. And it's like I couldn't believe it. Like, what? I'm trying to help you, and now you're killing me. I was just like scrambling to a bit of higher ground, you know. By Krishna's mercy, I made it, you know. But I was thinking, in this world, you know, you try to be some sort of hero to help people, and then you become a zero, you know, I kill you. Yeah, she almost killed me. But, of course, it was a reaction of just, you know, the panic of drowning, that now she's trying to get as far away from the water and not considering that she's keeping me under the water. So sometimes in different situations, we may extend some sort of compassion, help to people, and they turn around and just smack us in the face, bang, leaving a sour taste in our mouth. Next time someone needs some help, you think a bit twice, you know, once bitten, twice shy. But this spirit of trying to be helpful, trying to be of service, or on the other side, when we receive help, being grateful, should not be killed within us, because it is needed for us ultimately to be able to appreciate the Lord and all that He has done for us. Gratitude. Be, on one level, positive emotions. You know, when you just smell the fresh air, you know, you can feel good. Very nice. It may be very selfish, good for me. On another level, it points us in a direction. It points us in a direction of others and what they may have done for us. So this verse, which discusses that we are all born as debtors, we have obligations. We are born in debt to the Pitris. The Pitris are one's forefathers. There's a history of your body, and somehow or other bodies created other bodies, and eventually you got your body. So in that line, there's some debt. Here we are in Switzerland. Someone was telling me that before 1994, Switzerland was just farms and just villages. And I mean, for me, it may be true or not, you can let me know. But, you know, from 94, someone said, it started becoming sort of the powerhouse. And 94 sounded too early for me. My doubt, when I put that doubt before that, but I didn't have any any other shastra to to counteract. It must be more than that, yeah?
It must have been World War time, maybe, before that.
After the World War.
I guess.
Yeah, because Germany also was beaten to the ground, and then they came up, number one economy in Europe, for example. So those who are born now, when these countries are enjoying economic development and have so many facilities for good living, parents will often say, you ungrateful kids. Those who saw the war, those who saw the devastation, when they came out, they provided facility. So they may have left this world. So those who are born after should feel indebted to those who have been there before. This is the material situation. The devas, the demigods, they are in charge of different facilities. Bhagavatam says, down to the blinking is controlled by some demigod. So who's that person who appreciates blinking? The gopis, they are a different level of person. In fact, they feel annoyed. They seemingly criticize Lord Brahma. But this is actually to highlight the depth of their love. How have you created us with 2 eyes? You have 4 eyes yourself. He has more than 4. He has he has 8 eyes. You have created us only with 2 eyes. And you yourself have 8. You should have created us with eyes all over the body like Indra. And giving us only 2 eyes, still you put this thing that always blinks and covers them. Now we want to see the beauty of Krishna. And this moment when we cannot see Krishna, we yet Yugaitam Nimeshena. Srimati Radharani, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying this moment, Nimisha, without seeing Krishna feels like a yuga. Yugaitam. We feel vacant in this world when we cannot see Krishna. So that is the extreme end of the spectrum, where the appreciation of Krishna's beauty is expressed in dissatisfaction with a moment of not being able to see that this blinking is just like it's an anatha. It's an obstacle. It's unwanted. Anyway, the demigods are in control of this material body. It is being puppeted. Because they are in charge also in relation to the modes of nature. So all the systems that work in this body are controlled by some deity. So one should be aware of that. Then one acts according to that obligation. In the Gita it is said about the cycle of work. We perform yagya to please the demigods, and the demigods are pleased, and they provide rain. The rain gives us grains. Grains give us strength so we can perform yagya. In this way, the cycle of gratitude goes on. Devashi Bhutata Nrinam Pitrinam. So these are different people we are indebted to, our forefathers, the saintly persons. Jai Shishigoritai. So that's more elevated. The saintly persons are giving us eyes, jnana chakshush. We can see the world through realized knowledge or advanced knowledge. So we are always indebted. Therefore, even before speaking on the scriptures, Narayanam Namaskritanam Chaiva Narottamam Devim Sarasvatim Vyasa Tato Jayamudirayet. We are appreciating even the goddess Saraswati, Narayan, Rishi, we're appreciating the parampara for giving us transcendental knowledge. So ultimately this appreciation has to point us to the Supreme Lord. The Lord says in the Gita that by a single fragment of my opulence, I pervade the entire thing, this material world. Ekam senastito jagat. So much can be said about my glories, but just by one iota of my opulence, I'm taking care of everything. Everything is coming from me. So any sort of opulence, any facility, any advantage that we see in devotion, it can nourish us if we have that disposition to always see any sort of advantage that we are experiencing, anything good. If we take that back towards the Lord and see how the Lord is manifesting that advantage for us, we can see His mercy everywhere. So it's a matter of meditative consciousness. And meditative consciousness has to come from a heart which is appreciative of whatever is being provided, not a heart which is entitled. Sometimes the jiva is thinking, I've taken the trouble to take birth here. Everything then should be provided, the mood of my rights. We all have our rights. The Vedic way of looking tends to look at what are the duties. I'm not just owed my rights, but I owe some duties. I have duties to perform, to reciprocate what has been given. So to appreciate the Lord is being exemplified here by Lord Shiva from his devotee heart, glorifying Lord Aniruddha. You are providing for the Pitris and the demigods. You are the master of all the three Vedas. So whatever knowledge that I think I have, you are Veda. Veda is just aham, I am Eva Vedya, Vedanta Krit Veda Vid Eva Cham. You are the compiler of the Veda, you are the knower of the Veda. So anyone who thinks they know anything, if they don't see that that knowledge flows from Krishna, that is illusory. And it creates this pride of so-called knowing. That the Lord is the predominating deity of the moon. This is discussed at the end of the purport. Soma is being highlighted, predominating deity of the moon, responsible for the ability to taste and relish. To stop and think, and sometimes it happens to me that, and I tell devotees, that actually in the scheme of things, the enjoyment of the living entity is something just around here. This is generally all the enjoyment, primary. Of course, we know the genitals, but the genitals are really slippery slope of enjoyment. The debt, you can pay your whole life for trying to enjoy the genitals. But the simple enjoyment that is legal and everywhere predominant is eating. And eating just means the tongue. And just, once you go, you swallow. Yeah, that's it. You have to put some more again. And really try to. Once you swallow, it's just now, it's done. But to stop and think, sometimes the subject just hits the tongue just right. It's an explosion of taste in the mouth. So the cooks, they get a lot of mercy. Remember, if you're a cook, as soon as that preparation is so pleasing, the devotees are just thinking like, wow. And the heart is fully open. We are very much mercifully disposed to the cooks We love the cooks. All glories to the cooks. 20 years in this movement, I've never been hungry. I'm always eating. Some devotees have always been providing Krishna Prasadam. They are the unsung heroes of this movement. Just take away the devotees who cook and see if you love the Hare Krishna movement. The Sunday Love Feast. If you see how the Sunday Life Feast goes, bhajan, there's a few devotees, class, and then it kind of seems to fill up. If it's a big speaker, then okay, yes. If it's Guru Maharaj, definitely we're there. He must see us. But at Prasadam, when you come out, you're shocked. Like, wow, this program is packed. Tongue. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written Sharira Avidya Jal Jodindre Taikal Jive Pile Vishaya Sagare. This body first is identified by him as a network of parts leading to death. The senses are like venomous snakes. The tongue is the leader of these senses. It's the most difficult to control. But the Lord is kind by giving his own prasada to help us control this tongue in the world. So tongue is not only just for tasting, also vibrating sound. And how many hearts have been broken by an uncontrolled tongue? And you cannot forget those words. That's what Lord Shiva told Sati. Look, don't go to your father's whatever ceremony there. You'll be mistreated, and this will harm you the most. But she wanted to go. It's a ceremony. Everyone's dressed up. She went. And the father neglected her. And then he spoke badly about Lord Shiva. And she could not tolerate those insults. That I regret that I got my body from you. You cannot estimate the position of Lord Shiva. See, Daksha is very religious. Just see what a big yagya I have put up. But this is materialistic. Just see what I have done religiously. It's about me. So if you perform religion for the sake of being noticed and glorified, then when we don't get that glory, then we even think, why am I doing this? Why am I? Whereas Lord Shiva, who he was thinking, look at him. He didn't even stand up to honor me when I walked in. He's such an irreligious fellow. He's so absorbed in the goal of all these religious rites that he's meditating on the Lord. He didn't even have the consciousness to notice Daksha. So externally, the activity may look right, but bhakti is more of an internal thing. What's the intention behind? So the intention of eating shouldn't be just to enjoy the tongue, but it should be to control the tongue and to receive the mercy of the Lord. Therefore the devotees talk about honoring prasad. Sometimes we really devour prasad, we go in, rah, rah. But at least it's Krishna prasad. But then there's, a consciousness that may deepen the heart when it's this mood of honoring prasad. Generally, for us, it's that time where we spend time with the devotees. So also prasadam time can be a very social situation. So different quarters of devotees will have different feelings about this. The highest standard would be shh. If you hear that should be as much as you are hearing from anyone else. So sometimes then, Prabhupada lecture is being played, someone is reading Krishna book or reading the biography of something, so that we hear that. Others say, "Oh, but Prabhu, it's like the whole day, everyone's stuck in their services, prasadam, a family that eats together stays together. So, that's when it's nice to just touch base." So whatever camp you're in, in bhakti, the principle is to always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. And when we are honoring prasadam, we are controlling that tongue, and we can meditate on Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada says, Shiva's prayer also to Lord Aniruddha is meant for this purpose. He's praying to Lord Aniruddha to help him be satisfied by eating only prasad offered to the Lord. There is an austerity of the mind, mana prasad in Gita, to be satisfied. To be satisfied. And not to allow the mind to dwell on sense enjoyment. Because when the mind dwells on sense enjoyment, it is definitely dissatisfied. Because it's also endless. The options, sometimes they seem endless. So one has to be satisfied by eating only Krishna prasad. So also the devotees of the Shiv Vishnu club are also at least trying to offer something. And they're trying to only eat Krishna prasadam. I was told an interesting story or joke or something. How does it go? Why is Krishna, or what did Vishnu say to Krishna? Anyway, it has to do with Krishna meets Vishnu, and he's asking him, how goes things, or something. How's your enjoyment? And Vishnu sort of acknowledged, that Krishna is doing well because he's eating all these Mahaprasadam and all these things. And he said, well, me, I'm just dealing with all these chips. And so the devotees out there, you've probably been one of them. Someone Sankirtan. Shri Vishnu. So Vishnu is getting on the go, take junk food. And Krishna is getting, sabjis and ghee, all this nice stuff. So there's variety also in Godhead, That's why Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. Jagannath also is eating so much that when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was manifesting some restriction, some control, Mr. Nasi, his assistant said, look, we know you. Now you are acting here like you are very renounced. But there in Jagannath Puri, you are eating all day. So many preps. Now you want to act like some renouncer. Krishna Prasadam ki. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki. Gaur Premanande. Hari Om. So, if one becomes fully dedicated to Krishna consciousness, he's not obliged to any of these categories of beings, whether the forefathers, the demigods, previous sages. But kato mukundangri, pariritya katam, one has to be fully dedicated in devotional service, then no more obligations. Well, Prabhu, what about our parents? Gratitude. We have to be grateful, but we are not, if they try to give us deviating instructions, then, we don't follow them. but we are grateful for what they've provided, always. Hare Krishna. Any thoughts? Any comments? So the future is bright. In the next 15 minutes there'll be prasadam. Shri Prabhupada ki Gaur Premanande. Hare Krishna.